Hi, this is 2nd December editorial. The first editorial is Patriotism by Diktat. This is regarding the Supreme Court's order that every cinema hall should play the national anthem before the beginning of the movie. I've combined today's article and yesterday's article into this. Both the articles doesn't speak about the pros much. It all focuses on the cons. So let's look at the first point. The author says that a national anthem is such that it instills pride in us and it brings out the unity even among the diversity. But enforced patriotism, it transforms the private emotion into a tokenist public spectacle, which means that you don't feel that emotions just for the sake of participating. You just participate in that. Then, second point is that there are certain rules about when the national anthem should be played and what should be the conduct of the people. So let's assume that there is some misuse. Some person like a person does not stand when national anthem is played like that. If it's intentional, then that is legally prohibited. So we can take that person to the court. But if it's unintentional, like in case of a physically disabled person who cannot stand, then there might be chances of people assaulting him. Like for example, what happened? We can see what happened to the poet and writer Salil Chaturvedi in Goa. Then the third point is that in a mature democracy like us, mature democracy like ours, there's no need for uh, mandatory playing or singing of the anthem through a judicial order because we know it. And if anything forced on us might seem like taking away our freedom. Next, the author speaks about why only single out cinema halls for playing the national anthem. See, national anthem was played in the cinema theaters few decades ago, but it was played after the movie. So as a result, many would walk out before the national anthem was played. Now also people fear that same might repeat. People might enter the theaters maybe after the national anthem has been played. And the second thing is that author assumes that maybe Supreme Court has felt that maybe because of this large number of people assemble in the cinema hall, it's most so it might be a more suitable place to play the national anthem. But if we take that scenario, then in every sitting of the legislature or in the court, the national anthem should be played because even in there the many assemble, right? The third point is that the author says is by playing the national anthem in cinema halls, it's like disrespecting the anthem because you're associating the national anthem it with a medium which is very commercial. So where is the feeling of patriotism come in there? So the author concludes that appeal to the constitutional patriotism, having allegiance to the values underlying the constitution, is something which cannot be forced by judicial diktat or by making cinema halls playground for misplaced sense of patriotism. That is something which is inside everyone, and it cannot be forced on people. The second editorial is HIV, the self test option. This editorial speaks about the guidelines which WHO released on HIV self testing. WHO approved the Aura Quick HIV self testing. This test is about detecting the HIV antibodies in the oral and blood samples. So these antibodies can be detected by the test within 3 months of getting infected. So this test detects the antibodies within 3 months of getting infected. This self-testing is just a screening test, and the results should be confirmed through blood-based test. Next is the advantages of self-testing. First is that it helps us in dealing with the people who are themselves unaware that they are affected by HIV. So they unknowingly transmit this HIV virus to others. So through the self-testing, we can help in preventing the new infections. Second is that it makes the diagnosis easier and faster. So we can start the treatment early and enable the infected to live longer and healthier. Third is that it ensures the privacy. Still in many people who are affected by HIV face the stigma and discrimination in our society. By ensuring privacy, we can get many people tested, thus preventing the spread of HIV virus. HIV disease. Okay, next coming on to the challenges of self-testing, we must be aware that the accuracy of the test is around 93%. So the challenge is regarding the counseling and sensitivity. The person, the person should be made aware of the false negatives. So he should be aware that even if it's showing positive, he has to cross check again, and therefore there's a need for counseling should be done in innovative ways, like for example over the telephone as in USA. Now, taking India's scenario, the HIV testing has been made accessible and free of cost, but still, even though there is drop in incidence of HIV in 2015, there's still people who are not aware that they are infected by HIV, and there is that considerable percentage of children who are affected by HIV. Now, the government with the institutional testing has also approved community based testing. Community based testing is that nothing but people go to a particular place, they fix the maybe a particular village, they fix a place and they ask people to attend the testing, or they might go to a person home and test for the HIV. And fourth is, now the thing is that since we have approved the community based testing, India should also encourage self testing in order uh, in order to reduce the HIV incidence. The next editorial is message from Amritsar. Uh, this speaks about the Art of Asia Conference 2016, which has to be held in Amritsar. Uh, Here, this editorial speaks about the peace and affiliation between Afghanistan and various other countries, including India. Now, what is Art of Asia Conference? The aim of the Art of Asia Conference is to speed up the reconstruction and bringing peace to the Afghanistan. This Art of Asia Conference originated in the Istanbul Conference in 2011. The countries participating in Art of Asia Conference in 2016 are definitely India, then Afghanistan, Pakistan, China, Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and Turkey, Saudi Arabia, UAE. And one thing to remember is that in Central Asian countries, Uzbekistan is not participating. And from the PT point of view, it's very much essential to by heart the countries surrounding the Caspian Sea, then countries surrounding the Red Sea, and then countries around the Persian Gulf and Gulf of Aden. See, the Art of Asia Conference comes at a point where India and Afghanistan are trying to isolate the Pakistan regionally and globally. Now let's look at the relation between Afghanistan and Pakistan. Afghanistan is reviewing its policy with Pakistan. It has asked Pakistan to forego negotiation with Taliban and take military action against the Taliban. Otherwise, it was warned that it will approach the UN to launch the serious diplomatic efforts. But Pakistan, despite Afghanistan pressure, it is determined to have negotiations with Taliban even after the fact that Taliban did not participate in the peace process involving quadrilateral coordination group. Quadrilateral coordination group involves four countries: US, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and China. And meanwhile, the situation in Afghanistan is that there are more attacks carried out in Afghanistan, and government is struggling to hold the key districts, and it has also failed to hold the overdue parliamentary elections. Now, let's look at the India and Afghanistan relationship. India has been demanding dismantling of the safe havens and terror sanctuaries in region, and is also pressing for deeper engagement with the various stakeholders for the Afghanistan peace and stability. But this seems more difficult because there is constant attack on the Indian embassy and consulates in Afghanistan. But the positives from this relationship is that inauguration of the new parliament building in Afghanistan and naming the Salma Dam as the India-Afghanistan Friendship Dam, and also gifting of Mi-24 attack helicopters to the Afghanistan, and also signing of TAPI pipeline agreement. All these initiatives takes us to the positive side of the India-Afghanistan relationship. Now, coming to the China Afghanistan relations, China is making it clear that it wants to have deeper security ties with the Afghanistan. There are plans to strengthen the counter terror and intelligence cooperation, and also enhance China's role in training of Afghan military and civil personnel. See, China is concerned about the extremists in Xinjiang region, and it sees the security in the Afghanistan as a key to stability in China. Therefore, it's trying its best to develop ties in Afghanistan and bring peace in Afghanistan. So, coming to India, India has shown willingness to move beyond the economic cooperation and military engagement, and it is willing to evolve a comprehensive policy which involves all the dimensions of power, which is very much needed in order to bring the stability in the region, and that's it. So, this is the basic summary of the editorial, the message from Amritsar. Now, moving on to the next editorial. Next editorial is how Ebola changed a country. It talks about a particular country called Sierra Leone. First, this country was affected by war in from 1991 to 2002. Then, almost after a decade, it was affected by the Ebola. So it speaks about the impact of the Ebola on the younger generation. First, being these school-going children, due to the Ebola, the schools were closed. So, as an alternative, emergency radio education program was started. But the drawback is that due to poor signal, it was not that effective. Then, second thing, it talks about the impact on the girls, especially the girls who were pregnant during the war, as they were made the sex slaves. And then, due to the negative impact, economic impact of the Ebola, there was increase in the exploitation, therefore, rise in the pregnancy. And this, due to the stigma attached to the pregnant girls, they were not allowed to attend the school. So, as an alternative, these girls were allowed to continue the education in different time slot than to the other children. Then the third part, it speaks about the role of ex-child soldiers. These are the children who participated in the war as the soldiers. So they had a huge contribution during the Ebola. They had devised the Ebola education program, and then this soldiers had also helped to set up the Ebola clinics. So this is the brief about the editorial. Now the next editorial is Contours of a Challenge. Here, the author speaks about the need for the judicial review regarding the demonetization of the currency. So, he talks about whether Supreme Court should accept the various number of PLs regarding the demonetization. uh, there's usually a belief that the issues of the policy, especially involving the state and the country's economy, it's beyond judicial review. But the author says there should be a judicial review, and he also quotes the former president of the Israeli Supreme Court of that separation of powers exists to strengthen the freedom and prevent the concentration of power in the hands of one governmental actor in a manner likely to harm the freedom of individual. So by stating this, the author is saying that there is a need for the judicial review. And he also mentions that many petitioners are not questioning the policy's financial viability and the government's competence to bring out this policy, because government may prove that it is more competent to bring out the policy, but the many petitioners, what they're asking is what they're asking the court to judge is about the government's competency in affecting the policy and deciding whether its enforcement has led to the unconstitutional consequences. So, by unconstitutional consequences, the author means that about the humanitarian cost brought about by the demonetization. For example, the death toll, it said that almost 55 people were dead in their attempt to exchange the notes, and the hardships brought to the vulnerable, like the people in the village, uh, the poorer section, and also those working in the informal sector. So the author says that there's very much need for the Supreme Court to look into this matters, and also Supreme Court should look into the injustice brought about by this demonetization. That's it for today's editorial analysis. There's one more article regarding the democracy direct to home. I feel this is very much depends upon the opinion, so you can just go through this editorial. I mean, nothing very important for the exam. If you have liked this video, please subscribe to my channel, and give me your feedback. And if you need the word format of this video, you can mail me at the email ID mentioned in the description box. Thank you.